The outcast of Lyra 9. The twin sons of Lyra. 9 burned crimson over the horizon, bathing the vast crystal plains in light that shimmered like molten glass. Wind moved in spectral waves, whispering through quartz spires and carrying faint harmonics, the planet's natural resonance, a haunting sound the Lyrans called the Song of Life. Among the translucent towers of the capital city, a lone figure walked through the streets where others avoided her. She was tall, her skin faintly luminescent like starlight trapped beneath glass. Her hair, a cascade of silver threads, caught the crimson sun's glow and refracted it like liquid fire. Her name was Lyra. Once Lyra had been a genetic prodigy, an artisan of life, working for the High Genetic Council. The Lyrans were an ancient race that had long transcended natural evolution. They engineered beauty, intelligence, and physical perfection through genetic symphony. But Lyra had broken a sacred boundary. She had done what no Lyran had dared. She had merged her DNA with that of an outsider species, a primitive race from the blue planet known as Earth. She had called her experiment the Harmony Project. Her goal was to bridge the biological and emotional chasm between species, to prove that empathy itself could be encoded into DNA. But when her creation, a hybrid embryo, was discovered, the Council declared her work heretical. They erased her records, stripped her of title, and exiled her from the inner cities. Now Lyra lived in the outer ring, where the air shimmered with toxic particulates and broken drones lay rusting in the dust. Even there, she carried herself with quiet grace, though whispers followed her like ghosts. Her mind is corrupted, they said. She wanted to become one of them. Lyra didn't respond. Every night she looked to the stars, especially the faint blue speck she knew was Earth, and wondered if her sacrifice had been worth anything at all. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. To the crash in the crystal desert. One evening, as Lyra 9's smaller sun dipped below the horizon, a streak of silver fire crossed the twilight sky. It wasn't a meteor. Lyra knew the patterns of the heavens intimately. This was something else, something artificial. She climbed a ridge of cracked crystal and saw it, a vessel descending fast, trailing smoke and plasma. It struck the ground in the distance with a shock wave that rippled through the plains. Without hesitation, Lyra gathered her salvaged medpods and set out toward the impact. It took her hours, her boots cracking through brittle quartz sheets, until she reached the wreck. The ship was of human design, an exploration-class courier, its insignia barely visible through the burn marks. UNS Horizon. Through the shattered hull, she saw movement. Inside, pinned beneath debris, was a man. His suit was torn, oxygen leaking. His face, tanned, rough, undeniably human, was twisted in pain. When his gaze met hers, confusion flickered through his expression, followed by awe. You're not human," she finished softly, her voice melodic and clear. "No, but you are." The man tried to rise, failed, and coughed weakly. "Captain Elias Grant, United Nations Space Corps. This isn't the welcome I expected." "You crashed on Lyra 9, Lyra said, examining his vitals through her med lens. "You're lucky to be alive. Your ship's systems are beyond repair, but I can stabilize you." She lifted the debris with her telekinetic gloves and injected him with regenerative nanocytes, Lyran biotech far beyond anything human science possessed. His breathing steadied. Elias looked at her dazed. "Why are you helping me? I thought your people hated outsiders." Her gaze faltered. "They do. But I am not like them." For the first time in many cycles, Lyra felt a spark of something she had long buried. Connection. 3. The city that denied her. For several weeks, Lyra sheltered Elias in her dwelling, a half-collapsed research dome filled with luminous flora and flickering holoscreens. He learned to breathe Lyra's thin atmosphere through adaptive filters, and in return he shared stories of Earth, of oceans, blue skies, and the sound of rain. Lyra listened in silence, absorbing every detail. The Lyrans had abandoned their oceans long ago when their climate became too volatile. To her, Earth sounded like a myth, a world where emotion and imperfection were not weaknesses but strengths. Elias was fascinated by her in turn. "You could outlive every human by centuries," he said one night, watching her adjust the bioluminescent vines that served as light sources. "And yet you seem lonelier than anyone I've met." Lyra smiled faintly. "Immortality without belonging is not a gift. It is a quiet prison." But their fragile peace didn't last. The crash had drawn the attention of the Lyran Council of Purity, who viewed any contact with humans as contamination. Drones began to patrol the region, scanning for traces of human DNA. When the patrols finally discovered Elias's life signs, Lyra knew they would come for him, and for her. "They'll kill you if they find you," Elias said, gripping her arm. "Come with me. There must be a way to contact my fleet." She shook her head. "The Council controls all communications. If I try, they'll intercept the signal. But there might be another way." In the archives beneath the capital city, Lyra had once stored fragments of her banned research, the genetic harmonizer she had built to fuse Lyran and human DNA. If she could retrieve it, she might reprogram it to mask Elias's genetic signature long enough to escape. It was a dangerous plan, but there was no choice. Into the heart of the Forbidden City, under the pale shimmer of twin moons, Lyra and Elias slipped into the capital through forgotten tunnels beneath the quartz spires. The city above glowed with spectral light, its towers humming with energy fields. They reached the old biolab where Lyra had once worked. Dust coated the consoles, but the harmonic resonance of the building still remembered her genetic imprint. The doors opened for her, recognizing her as a ghost of the past. Inside, Lyra found the harmonizer, a crystalline device suspended in magnetic stasis, still pulsing faintly with stored energy. Elias watched her carefully. "What does it do?" "It changes perception," she said, her fingers tracing the device. "It can rewrite how a Lyran sees you. To them, you'll appear as one of their own, at least for a short time." "Sounds dangerous." "It is," she said softly. "But so is existing." Before she could activate it, a booming voice echoed through the chamber. "Lyra of the broken code." She turned sharply. From the corridor emerged High Chancellor Vane, leader of the council. His armor shimmered like liquid glass, and behind him marched several sentinel drones. "You dare return to the sanctum you defiled." Vane's tone was both cold and pitying. "You could have lived quietly in exile. But you chose this." "I chose compassion," Lyra replied. "Something you abandoned long ago." The Chancellor's gaze shifted to Elias. "And you bring the contamination with you. How poetic, the creature who ruined herself for a human." Elias raised his weapon instinctively, but Lyra stepped in front of him. "Don't," she whispered. "Violence will only prove them right." Vane gestured, and energy fields snapped around them, trapping them in luminous cages. "Take them to the purification chamber," he ordered. "We'll cleanse this blight once and for all." The trial of purity. They were taken to the chamber of purity, a colossal hall of translucent crystal where energy conduits pulsed like veins. Thousands of Lyrans gathered in silent judgment, their expressions unreadable. Lyra stood on the dais, bound by stasis fields. Elias stood beside her, still half-dazed by the alien surroundings. Vane addressed the assembly. This is what happens when one strays from perfection. She mixed her essence with primitive blood. She sought to feel instead of ascend. And now, she brings a human into our sanctum. Murmurs rippled through the crowd like static. Lyra's voice rang out, clear and resonant. You fear imperfection, but perfection has made you blind. You have removed empathy, compassion, and curiosity from your genome. You are machines in flesh. The human you despise has more life in his heartbeat than all your sterile order combined. Her words caused unrest among the lower ranks, scientists who once admired her. Vane, however, smiled coldly. Then let us see if your human shares your courage. He turned to Elias. Tell me, human, do you see this creature as your equal, or as the aberration she truly is? Elias's gaze locked on Lyra. Her eyes glowed faintly with sorrow and defiance. He took a step forward. She's more human than most of us, he said. She saved my life. She risked everything for a stranger. If that's corruption, then maybe it's what we all need. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Vane raised his hand. Enough. Their impurity ends now. Energy surged through the conduits, preparing to disintegrate them both. Lyra looked at Elias and smiled. A sad, radiant smile. I'm sorry, she whispered. I never wanted you to see this world like this. But just as the energy field activated, something unexpected happened. The harmonizer, still hidden in Lyra's grasp, triggered on its own. Its crystalline core pulsed, resonating with the frequencies of both their genetic patterns. The resonance spread through the chamber like a shockwave of light. 6. The song of life. The Lyrans froze as the energy field twisted and inverted. Instead of destroying Lyra and Elias, it merged with them. The harmonizer amplified the frequencies of their combined DNA, creating a cascading resonance that filled the entire hall. The crystals around them vibrated, singing in harmonic waves. For the first time in centuries, the city itself began to sing. Lyrans fell to their knees, clutching their heads as emotions. Raw, powerful emotions flooded their minds. Compassion, fear, love, grief. Feelings they had surgically purged long ago. Lyra's body glowed brighter and brighter until it was difficult to tell where she ended and light began. Her voice rose above the chaos. This is what you called impurity, she said. But it is the essence of life itself. To feel is not to fall, it is to rise. The energy pulse reached the outer colonies, then the planet's crust, then out into orbit. Every Lyran structure began to hum with the same resonance, echoing the song of life they had long forgotten. When the light finally dimmed, Lyra collapsed into Elias's arms, weak but alive. Her form flickered between Lyran and human, as if her body couldn't decide which it was anymore. Vane, trembling, looked at his hands. Tears, real tears, ran down his face. What have we done? He whispered. Lyra smiled faintly. You've remembered. 7. The new dawn. In the days that followed, Lyra 9 changed. The rigid order of the council crumbled, replaced by new dialogues of unity and curiosity. The once sterile cities now pulsed with color and music. The Lyrans began to rediscover what they had long denied: emotion, imperfection, and empathy. Elias's ship was repaired with Lyran technology, but he didn't leave right away. He spent weeks helping Lyra establish a new institute, the Sanctum of Harmony, dedicated to bridging the gap between species. Humans and Lyrans, once divided by fear, now collaborated in wonder. Yet, for all the peace they built, Lyra knew her existence was fragile. The harmonizer had permanently altered her genome. She was neither fully Lyran nor fully human anymore, but something entirely new. One night, as the twin suns sank below the horizon, Elias joined her on the crystalline ridge where they had first met. "The council offered to make you one of them again," he said quietly. "You could have your status back." She shook her head. "And lose what I've become. Well, I'd rather remain between worlds." Elias turned toward her, his expression soft. "You know, Earth could use someone like you. Someone to remind us what we're capable of feeling." She smiled. "Perhaps someday. But for now, Lyra needs me more." They stood in silence for a while, watching the auroras ripple across the alien sky. Then, almost shyly, Elias reached out and took her hand. Her skin felt warm, alive, no longer the cold, glassy texture of the pure Lyrans. In that moment, two beings from different stars shared something neither could describe in words. It was neither scientific nor logical. Simply was. 8. The legend of Lyra years passed, and the story of Lyra spread far beyond Lyra 9. Humans came to know her as the bridge between worlds. The Lyrans, now freed from their emotionless perfection, called her the first harmonized one. She became a symbol of unity, proof that connection was not a weakness, but the universe's greatest strength. Elias eventually returned to Earth to tell her story, and though he never saw her again, he often looked to the stars, searching for the faint shimmer of Lyra 9. Sometimes, when the night was clear, he swore he could hear a distant song, soft, melodic, and filled with light, the song of life. And though ages passed, one truth remained carved into both their histories.